We'll just schedule
Then
it
I'm
out.
going with it.
Then we're just going to go for it. Hi.
Hi.
So today we're going to do something a little different. As you can see, our background's different because
Yep.
we love the ocean. Um, but today we have Natasha Rose with us, and we're going to talk soul retrieval. So first of all, let's get with things that
Well,
I am Z,
and I'm Hitara.
and we are Eternity. Now, if you haven't watched us before, what happens is that we're going to go ahead and talk about a subject, and today it's going to be soul retrieval. And then after that, at the end, we're going to do 10 minutes of drumming to where you will pick a place in nature that you've been to that you're really comfortable with. And then you will close your eyes, listen to the drum, and then you'll listen to the prompts, and we'll go on a journey. And then if you see an animal, a plant, or a crystal, or a flower, go ahead and write us, and because that's a message for you. If you see a spiritual teacher, like an angel, or an elf, or a centaur, that is something that you'll have to schedule an appointment for because that is a specific spirit guide. And yeah, we do that with respect. We just don't hand things over. And then some things we're going to be using a different drum today. We have a brand new buffalo drum with
Mhm.
Hitaras.
Yep. But I'm letting him use it.
So that thing. And then we always talk about the crystals.
And the crystals of today.
First of
For
all,
today.
for today, we have Vandalite and Girasol. If you're a creative person, especially in writing, you want these two. And I got to say this too, um, whether you like spiders or not, if you're a writer, connect with them because they are the keepers of the primordial alphabet and they will help you write. So, with that being said, welcome to Sunday's Shamanic Soul Sessions. That's a tongue twister type of thing. Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day for everyone. All the
Yeah, happy
mamas.
Mother's Day.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Thank you.
I've been called a mother before. Not in that way. But... Okay. That was my joke for the day.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about soul retrieval after I scratch my head, and what a soul retrieval is. We're going to talk about in shamanic terms because that's the terms that we know. In our practice, uh, that's my modality is shamanic practitioner, and these two are Reiki masters, or will be, or are. I don't know much about
We
Reiki.
are.
We are.
Yeah, so they're Reiki masters, and they'll have a different perspective, which is what we like to do here because then we get a whole bunch of ideas. And if you have any comments, please leave one there, or go to our Facebook page, which we'll tell you about later. Okay, so in the traditional sense, um, soul loss happens when you've had a trauma. So if you've been in a car accident, um, fallen out of a tree, have or you've been verbally abused for a long period of time or emotionally abused, in order for yourself to go on in shamanic practicing, part of your soul leaves so that you can survive. Because when it gets to a point to where it gets bad enough, you have to shut part of you off in order just to get up and go on through the day. So now, does everyone need a soul retrieval? If you ask me personally, yes. But no, in reality, you can go on just as what you're doing. And it's fine. If you're being successful and you're fine, that's okay. In my case, I had something happen when I was 12 years old. And from that point on until I got my soul retrieval, I was never there. There was always something missing. And I went through several spiritual practices, and what none of them did in 33 years, a shamanic practitioner fixed in 2.5 hours. And life has been different ever since. So, what are some of the ways that we do this? Well,
That's why
shamanic
we
journey.
have our guest
Yeah. Yay.
to share her experience.
Yeah. Share experiences. Okay. So, how could you tell if you would need one? Anybody? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Well, how would you tell if you would need one? That's an interesting question in regards to a soul retrieval, because I feel for me it was more of a knowing, like it was like that whisper that you hear but you can't hear out here, but you hear in here, that when you go through life, especially if you've experienced trauma, you're always wandering and trying to put yourself back together and not knowing how. For me, I am probably a more unique case of being an explorer of sorts. I've tried quite a few different modalities and experienced different versions of healing sessions, and try to in an attempt to put myself back together. And I have wanted a soul retrieval since I heard that they were, an option. But how it aligns with your path and where you're at in your life, I think it's more than just. Wouldn't you say it's more than a mental choice? It has to be a somewhat of an aligned experience, or aligned destination,
and emotional experience too.
and emotional, because it's an intense experience.
Yeah. I know for me it was always like, no matter what I did to get it to feel whole, it would never last. It would come and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And for me, it was, I'd go to a church and I'd go, yeah, this is great. And I love it. And this is fun. And then, in 6 weeks.
So it is that feeling of there's a void there that you try to fill it in, and then you think you got it, but then you keep on recurring into that. So that's one of the signs. That's in my personal experience. That's what happened to me. I didn't know I have a missing piece, for example, in my case. Yeah. No.
Yeah, and I would say that's something I've always known. And I was dead set on that, there's only one piece missing. But I think, or I feel, as you move into it, I don't think that's the focal point. I think what you focus on is, where are you feeling called? If it's to a soul retrieval, then that's your body's way. I'm very much about approaching it from what your body's, your heart space answering that question, rather than your mind space. We can think we need a lot of things. We can think a lot of things. And we make those choices every single day, with impulse buying, or with in lots of different ways. But if you hear about something, again, and this is how I approach it, like when I speak with others and try to support them and encourage them, is we have to get out of our head and into our heart. And if you are being pulled away, if you cannot stop thinking about something and it keeps reoccurring in your day, it's like, here's your sign. You might be on the path, that if you're watching this video and you happen across it from nowhere in space and time, and this video lands in your lap, then it's most likely a modality that you are ready for, and you're going to find your way too.
Mhm.
Or if you watch this now and 6 months from now, you come into a space where you remember that this is an option, or this is something that was open to you or presented in front of you. This is a seed that's been planted. So when you're ready, you'll find your way to who you need to, who is safe to do this, because that's probably another aspect that I feel is important to talk about, outside of, when I share my experience with Z and Hitara, because this is the first time I have experienced a soul retrieval, is practitioners, being that all experiences, all healers are not created equally. And so how do you think someone can navigate knowing where to go or who to go to for something this intricate? And I mean, it's basically spiritual surgery in a sense.
Right. I really think that the practitioner who's going to do it has to know it, has to understand. You can't look at it like this is a business.
Yeah.
In my case, someone had come to me and said, I need a soul retrieval. And at this time I was already doing them. And I looked at her and I said, it's not me. I will recommend you to a friend, because your guides will tell you, and if you're looking at this, that doesn't matter what you do. Your guides aren't there to help you, and the person's, that's how I know. So you go to a practitioner, and you go, I want one. And if the practitioner is reputable, they will journey for 15 minutes and ask their guides, is this for me to do, or do I need to pass this on? So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Without taking because there's an importance to the energy exchange of that too, because we don't want to take, there's going to be a monetary placement to any practice, and that is an energy exchange. You can't actually receive any even on an energetical level of worth unless it doesn't necessarily always mean currency or as we know money, but there does need to be an equal level of exchange from one to the other in order for especially something of this magnitude to fully integrate and process. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And there's I think it's the Quechua that have a thing that if there's no energy exchange, your ancestors will eat you. And people are like, what? And I was like, yeah, your ancestors have cleared your timeline. And then if you're going to go ahead and say, I want this for nothing, that's going to bring back everything that they've cleared. And it's like, no. So also I know in some cultures is that if someone needs the soul retrieval, they will go to the healer, and the healer will journey, and they will say, okay, you have a year and you have to bring me a llama or a couple of goats. Now granted, we can't take goats.
No goats.
Because we don't have we're allowed to have ponies, but no goats. No, not really.
Not really.
So, but the point is that there's an energy exchange that goes on. So I'd like to ask a question. What are some of the things that you've noticed prior to your soul retrieval and after?
Oh, I would say for me, one of the most powerful, okay, if we broke down, let me think of how I can word this. My power, right? My superpower is part communication, part creativity, part awareness, and let's say part intuition. And I would say prior to that, there is a knowing, there's a creativity, there's an awareness, but they're in very different spaces, right? They don't flow, like where's the flow? Where is the flow?
Yeah.
Post soul retrieval, a piece gets put in and everything lines up. Everything is in alignment. to where then it is it's an equal rather than a sporadic energy coming out of me. Again, in ideas, in creativity, in my communication. One of the biggest knowings I have had personally is around writing, is around creating, but consistently I would get to that place and just get stuck.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not creating mass amounts of art or putting out 10,000 words a day or anything, but it's also only been a few weeks. And my awareness of that alignment and that truth that I've always had, but that hasn't been allowed to fully come out of me, because when everything is shifted or distorted, right? We're more in our head than we are in our heart. So when we can get in our heart and everything else lines up within us as well. I'm not sure if I'm articulating this well enough. Are you on that page? Then you are able to you are fully embodying the human, the being, the soul, and the energy that you are here to be.
Yeah.
Whereas we're in, regressing, we go to where I was. Should I just talk about mine?
If you like.
Okay. Because I'm very open. I think there's power in sharing stories and sharing experiences. And so for me, I'd never had a soul retrieval before. I've read about, there's a lot that says in the name soul retrieval. Those are very two energy packed words, but I've never Googled it or researched it, or I wasn't obsessed with it in any way. It was just a knowing that at some point that was what it was going to come into my path and what I needed as part of my journey. I feel the same way about ayahuasca. Me too. Yeah. It's just a knowing. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. Yeah. So we go to this post soul retrieval. Here I am, this dynamic human being, and I'm aware of this now, and I can say this because I've also, again, I've been on a path of healing and self-awareness and self-knowing and my own trajectory for a long time. It's taken me quite some time to get to this space, and it was a lot of searching both on soul levels and also searching and reaching outward. And here I am, and I can say that I was a very dynamic person, but it was within a container of the society and culture that I was brought up in, right? So in my awakening, you could say I woke up probably around 22, 23 and then there's all this like hurt and pain and trauma that, we're walking around with, but we don't quite know what to do with. And getting to the, back to that soul piece, putting it back in was, so for me, it was directly correlated. It was a 5-year-old aspect. This happened when I was 5 years old. I was very aware of it, although it did come out more strongly a few days after the actual soul retrieval happened. Yeah. So for me, this event happened. It involved someone very, very important to me in my life. And it was all around being too much, being probably too voiceful, too creative, too outgoing, too loud. And then when this person, because this is as fast as it can happen, and I am very, I am a strong believer in non-traditional, like regular, non-traditional support, as well as the spiritual metaphysical support in regards to healers and practitioners. So I worked through this with a couple different people and to support like what's really happening here. And I was able to get down to realizing that, and it had to do with my grandmother, who I loved very much. And like, I could pinpoint the exact time that this happened. And it was that creative fire, that voice, that soul aspect of myself that came directly from God, directly from the divine, whatever you want to call it, that soul seed that we come into these bodies with, if you believe, that's what I believe, at her fullest was not allowed to be who she was because the world around her could not handle her as she was. And so post, you get to the point where you're 35 years old and you still have aspects of this creative fire, this intuition, this knowing, especially as you're healing. The more you heal, kind of the louder you get, the more confident you get slowly.
Yeah.
The more the creative piece, I'm hoping that, you know, that will come out more as this. I feel like that was probably the biggest part of that soul that was is now integrating into me. And what would you say, too, real quick, a full integration time is? I mean, there's a remembering that kind of happens too as that integration is placing.
Yeah, that's a great question. For some people, it can be a couple of days. It just comes in, it slides in. I've had maybe one person that you know that's happened to, and you know they were fine. You know, they just, it came in, it slid in like a piece of pie that was missing. And I mean, that's how they explained it. Yeah, they said it looked like that somebody had just put another piece of pie in me, and I feel great. And you know, this happened, and this happened. For me, mine took 6 months before it settled in. I won't go into that right now, but yeah. So
for me, it was quick too.
Yeah, about how long?
I don't remember.
A week or two, or sooner.
Well, I saw it, and then.
Well, then you went to Peru.
Yeah, that's why I went into some serious stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably less than a week. Think?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
So there is no set time, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I know for me, one of the biggest things that I had realized with mine, and I know you guys are going to find this, you know, you think this is stupid, because I know I thought it was stupid. So I used to work in Portland, and I lived in Vancouver, and I used to drive across the bridge, 205 bridge, and I'd get in the right-hand lane as soon as I could. And because that's where I was supposed to be, because that's where I had to get off at, and that's how I was going to get home. And then the people in front of me wouldn't drive fast enough, and people would be cutting in and out, and I'd just be screaming in my car, "Why are you letting them cut in?" And after my soul retrieval, I just got in the other lane and drove by them. Right. So that's what it did to me. I got out of this, and I realized that it could be this. Sorry, I didn't mean to get in front of your face. This.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say for me, so I'm a couple, 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm post 2 weeks, and my soul is very high, which I'm already high energy. But what is fascinating about this on a healing level, on just a human level, is in my 15, 16 to probably I would say almost 30, I really struggled with, I needed adrenaline. I felt like I always needed to find something. Like I would drink like 3 or 4 Red Bulls a day. I was trying, and I would explain it like I need my body to keep up with my mind.
Yeah.
And so now I have the soul piece in, and now it's becoming I have an awareness. The part of that soul piece that was missing is that high energy, which there's a lot of people in my life would say, "What are you talking about? You always have energy." But there's this piece that literally it is my heart. It is like its own little generator of, okay, let's do this. Let's go. It's a different kind of fire. It's a different kind of fuel that I've been missing, and I was seeking. Like I guess it's an awareness of, oh, that's what I was trying to get with all of those things, with all of those outside like substances, or you know, wherever I found myself at that point in time. So it's in now. I'm post 2 weeks. I went through some, you know, the first week was very like boom, 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 but I feel more. I see more. Yeah. I feel much more, because I'm already a feeling individual, very much empath, and my awareness is but I feel like my knowings are more, and I believe that's because my own inner compass has fully aligned it in itself, where there's a new level of trust that I didn't know before. And if I'm going to touch on the experience itself. So as someone who is a seeker and who has, I love experiencing medicine and I guess it would be called, I want to say magic, but also for like any kind of healing modality that I am drawn to. I love those experiences. I love experiencing other people's medicine. And so I have done, everything from acupuncture to breath work to obviously Reiki sessions to just regular healing sessions, all kind of practitioners all over the board and experiences all over the board, but I've never experienced an experience like I did with Z and Hitara in regards to the soul retrieval. It was the most, I mean, for someone who's very articulate, there's no words to fully describe that, not just the experience, but also the care and love and respect that you both hold within the space of this very sacred union of coming home to yourself. Mm-hmm. You're coming home to, you have this piece coming home to you and you are coming to it. And there's this union that happens in this beautiful kind of, it's so gentle but so powerful and palpable. It's the most, I explained it as being the most internal and external experience I have ever had, because usually it's one or the other. Mm-hmm. It's very surface level, physical, mm-hmm. or it's inside in, all the feels, all the swirlies. Yeah. But with this, and it's a process, right? That's probably, it's a few hours, two or three. I bet it most likely depends on the person.
It does.
But it's like that, and there's so much energy flowing. And again, mind you, where can you go to get two practitioners? You have two powerful practitioners within different who have practiced and are incredible at their not only their own modalities, but also the guides that work with them, and then that come, just a whole experience. There aren't enough words to articulate, and I consider myself a fairly articulate person to describe the kind of experience that you receive with Z and Hitara. I mean, it's literally out of this world. You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
Lista?
Yeah. No. I know yours, but what did you see that was different with you?
For me, there always been throughout my whole life, and I think when you were saying 5 years old, I think maybe mine has been around that age. I had a lot of trauma growing up, and going to the school that I went a lot. And I think at that time, that was the girl that we found out that was laying in there, waiting for me to find her. Yeah. She was waiting all along there in a safe place. Yeah, but it was kind of nostalgia is the word that I would get constantly. That feeling inside me that I didn't know how to put it into words, like deep inside. Why do I feel that? And I didn't even have a way to explain to anybody, but there was something inside me that was like, there's that feeling again, and I never knew how to. Right now is my first time that I'm ever saying it out loud, but there was that little emptiness inside, and it was nothing. I never felt connected to anybody really growing up. Yeah, I have my family. We're a big family, but I felt like I never belonged where I grew up. Yeah, never ever. I wanted to just, I wanted to get out of there, and I always been looking to the outside. Yeah, I mean, run away. I've been a runaway one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think that's just, I think that's a lot of people feel that like they don't feel they belong someplace. I know that after the experience that I had had, I never felt like I fit in
Yeah.
anywhere.
Mhm.
I mean, I would try, I would say the words, and I would, hey, how'd that game go last night? And
Mhm.
it just never felt
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
And so you would bounce from one thing to the other. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is always the search for your, for the feeling of a family.
Yeah.
But your real family, even though you love them with all your heart, is like, you know that they're not, there's something out there that is waiting for me to just click and just link.
Yeah.
And I realize that now, that no offense with family, because I love you all, I have found them. I mean, as you start vibrating, and when you feel whole and you start vibrating with your heart, from your heart out, is like the right people start coming into your life, and that's how we build community,
Yeah.
and we find beautiful people.
Yeah. Like Natasha.
Like Natasha
Mhm.
is a very pretty example of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We are so lucky.
So am I. But that goes
Yeah.
both ways in my own, and I think too, it isn't a is it it's a vibrational, um I'd say it's almost a vibrational awareness you have to
Yeah.
have to, in order to bring in that community, because
Yeah.
for a long time, right,
Mhm.
we're in, I mean, this kind of fits with where we're at right now. We're being isolated, we're being pulled away from each other,
Yeah.
separated, and the true healing, the true magic, the true medicine comes when we come together and we help each other.
Yeah.
We lift each other up and
Yeah.
we rise. And as we find our soul families and our tribes and our all of our families,
Yeah.
we become magnetic
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Right, and we are, even just being present, you can feel the energy it is hot in here right now.
Yeah.
The energy is
Yeah.
palpable, because even though we're consciously present to do
Mhm.
this interview,
Yeah.
there's that other aspect, that soul aspect together, where it's almost a dance. And
Yeah.
right, it's like a dance happening while we're here, but
Yeah.
also it's happening with whoever this message and this particular shamanic soul Sunday session, shamanic soul session reaches.
Yeah.
Because there's a vibrational match for you to hear this and know that community is key to the ultimate success, the true community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also like raising vibration. It is like we pretty much, as we continue connecting and expanding, we become the flower of life. I mean, each one is one point of that flower of life. It keeps on expanding, and that is the whole point, I'll say, or the whole guidance, that the more you connect within, the more you see the big picture, and more will join, more will
Yeah.
join, more will awaken, more will remember
Yeah.
that it is. Yeah.
Natasha had mentioned something about maybe needing multiple soul retrievals. I've had two. The first one took me back to when I was 12. And that was the biggest part that was missing. And then when in October 2016, I took a soul retrieval class with a very well known and awesome teacher in Eugene. And part of the class was that somebody had to do a soul retrieval on you. And I was thinking to myself, I just had one. Why would I need another one?
Mhm.
Because my soul retrieval happened in February, and then the class was in October, and so yeah. Next thing I know, the other student is taking me back to when I'm 4 years old, and my brothers are just tormenting me, and I hadn't even thought about that, and so yeah, you can have multiple ones. But you don't get them consecutively. Like, all right, on Friday night I'm going to do this, and then Sunday morning I'm going to get the other part, and then next Saturday I'm going to get the third. No, it's not the way it goes. You take your time. You let this one settle in. You see how it feels, because maybe just getting that one is enough. It could be. But yeah, I know I needed two. And who knows, I might have other pieces floating around. Yeah. Because sometimes, there are times when when you feel like something is off. And so, but I don't know if that's just the energy or I'm missing a piece.
Would you say it goes back to being in the now? Like, what's important is you're in. So for me, it was a matter of I'm in my kitchen doing my dishes by hand, and I look out the window and I'm like, I think I need a soul retrieval. I think it's time. Like, it's a knowing rather than a need.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Again, need is a really,
yeah.
Because then that would say to me that we're reaching for something, because we're not trying to fill or replace any. That's
or
not. We're doing this in a healthy, because we want to support that healthy union, that healthy rebalancing. So it's, again, to what you two offer in your practices. What I have noticed, because when I started, I found you by starting to go to drum circles, and your drum circles, the journeys, I had never done before, and I went places I literally had, I most likely had imagined them in dreams before, because for me it was a very easy flow, because I'm a very imaginative. I see very clearly in my mind. But prior to that, I hadn't experienced that. So as I journeyed with you, and I quickly, there was a consistent knowing of needing to connect. I need to connect with them. I need to connect with them. And then, you wait, and I probably waited longer than, because my knowing was a lot longer before I finally reached out, because there's fear, there's anxiety. We get in our heads. We think, like, who am I to reach out to these, these people, these strangers most of the time. And, but when it's coming from here, when we take the time to get into here, and maybe we don't know. So my point that I was trying to make is, through this practice, I have come into, and through my sessions with you, I have come in very quickly to that knowing and trust in myself, and because that's the whole goal. It's not that you tell me where I need to go, what I need to do, what my things are. You offer a space to guide others, which is the ultimate healing. No one should ever be telling anyone what they need to do, where they need to go, or how they need to do it. Your real guides, your real practitioners, your real healers are going to give you the tools and the support to teach you how to journey, how to find that in whatever capacity, that return to yourself. And that's what you two have given, and that's what you offer here. Would you agree?
I went through Soul Retrieval, and I had no one to talk to, and I said, and it's just like, and prior to my Soul Retrieval, I was pretty isolated and pretty solitary, and I would be laying in my bed, literally shaking, because I had no idea what was going on. And so I made a promise that whenever that I worked energetically with someone, that I would always be there. Now, I don't have all the answers, and we never claim to have all the answers. But we will listen. We will hug.
We will listen. We will hug. We will have cacao.
Cacao.
We will chat over cacao. It's another thing that we do. And we'll stay connected. I mean, any questions you have after that, we are full supporting all the way, the whole transition of the soul piece getting back together.
I kind of look at it that this is the best way. I look at it. It's just like, okay, so if there's someone drowning out there and you have a rope, and then you throw the rope out and they grab onto it, it's like, yes, I got the rope. But if I drop the other end, it doesn't do any good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why why we're always here.
Yeah,
We'll throw you the rope and we'll hang on until you get to the beach.
Yep.
In a positive, proactive way.
Yeah.
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 Because as the person asking for the work or choosing to do the work, we also have a responsibility to ourselves to take our power back and
Yes.
stand in our power.
Yeah.
And here you have two supportive practitioners in supporting you in that space, but no one can do anything for you outside of you. So you have to be willing to do the work, to be there, be present for yourself, but also, ask the questions that, again, especially if it has to do with an animal or a crystal, they'll probably have an answer just like that. But that's one thing that's very unique to the practice that you offer, is that support that because too, you're passionate about it. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And typically it's synchronistic to something that it's a part of a path, or it interweaves, like that flower of life that Hitara was speaking of. It interweaves with something else. So unless we communicate, we can't fully understand. Unless we connect, we can't fully understand and fully shift or heal or allow whatever needs to happen to take place.
That's why speaking and communicating is super important. And part of the process, really.
Yeah.
I mean, look how much you needed. I mean, really, to share what were you going through.
Yeah. And don't ever be afraid to call us. Well, text us.
Text us anytime. We're always always available.
Yeah. So that's it. And now there was something else I was going to say. I forgot what it was. Okay.
So we should probably recap what you're offering this month, because it's a pretty incredible. Incredible offering. Is you have an individual session with you, just a regular healing session is going to be $150, but the Soul Retrieval package is basically three sessions where because you also, there's a support. You can't just come in with a Soul Retrieval and them not have tapped in. Like, it's a process of getting to know and knowing it's right. And most likely, because of the energetic boundaries and what you have set up, the only people who truly need it are the ones that are actually going to find themselves at your door. But you're offering this because I've been around the block quite a bit in regards to the practitioner world. This is an incredible offer, because not only are you getting 3 sessions, so it's like, I think it's basically $150 off, because you have 3 full sessions. You can use this package at any time in the year for the rest of the year. It does not have to be, because sometimes we have an initial session and we need a little processing time.
Yeah, you do.
Like, nothing is pushed. It is all, it's all about respected timelines and when it's meant to come in. And there was another really great point I wanted to mention, but I think I might have lost it or got squirreled from it.
I know, I got squirreled too.
So you have it's basically $150 off. You have 3 sessions. You have 2 practitioners. There's no for the price of one. Really, it is for the price of one. Because personally,
we do extra TLC.
And it's this, I mean, the most tender loving care you have ever gotten. I have paid $250 for 45 minutes and not received a fifth of what the experience is that you two offer. But also part of that is because you were so passionate about it, that energy, that's that truth in the work that you're doing, because of the passion and the love that exudes through into the work, which actually causes that transformational healing. I guarantee you, if you proceed with a session with Z and Hitara, your life will be changed. You can mark, I'm literally recording this, and I have no say in this. I am speaking from my own truth of having experienced it and having, I just happen to have a broad range of where I can compare and contrast. And was the work that I did prior to this moment important, imperative?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like I needed it all. And right here was just the right time and when it was needed. And you could find this video a year from now or 2 years from now. And yeah, the package might not be available, but here's your sign.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that if you are looking for your life to be
Yeah.
changed, then you need to create your community. And sometimes I just mentioned this in another interview I recently did, is sometimes it takes, you're buying your support system. It feels like that. I remember feeling like that. All the people in my life that understood me or that I could communicate my true self with or who I was with, I was paying to have sessions with them. But each time I did that, I never thought twice about that money because I was not only investing it in myself and my own well-being, but the vibration of that was adding to what they were giving back to me. And what they gave back to me was help supporting and lifting my own vibration. So now I'm surrounded by community in not paid
That is
community.
awesome.
I'm also surrounded by people, amazing practitioners, amazing healers, and amazing friends who, they don't necessarily aren't practitioners or healers outwardly, but they're magic people who resonate at my vibration and allow me to be who and what I am with unconditional love. And there's another topic for someday, that I would love to have. So find the people that love and support you unconditionally, no matter what that takes, and start giving back to yourself. You need to love yourself, and you will find the love of your community.
And the best thing, one thing that I learned too is investing in yourself is the best gift you can give.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. It starts with you, self-love.
Yeah.
And remember how magnetism works, right? So sometimes I know there's a lot of people. What would you say to the individuals who aren't quite on the manifestation train of realizing how powerful our words are, and say, "Oh, I just don't have that. I just don't have that right now to give to myself," or "I just don't." What would you say? What would be the advice you give?
I went through that.
Yes, so did I. Lots of times.
Yeah, I went through that, and I had someone sit in front of me and tell me, if there's anybody that needs a soul retrieval, it's you. And I went, okay, what's that? And then I found out how much it was, and I was like, no, I can't do this. But this person just kept on me. Did you set your appointment yet? Did you set your appointment yet? Did you set your appointment yet? It took 6 months. And I tell you what, my life is so much different since then. What I like to say, what other traditional spiritual paths didn't recognize in 33 and a half years, a shaman fixed in 2.5 hours. Now, that's just something to think about, is that, if you're going to, and I'm not bad mouthing anything, don't get me wrong, but if you're going to a place where you're not getting what you need to look somewhere else. You are worth it.
And I think too, knowing that if you put it in and it feels right and there's an alignment, knowing that, the universe is on your side, spirit is on your side, magnetism is on your side, and intention is on your side. So you intend for that money in whatever capacity, or that miracle to come in whatever way, or look around. There are ways to make experiences that you're meant to have happen. And that's even outside of this, because overall, my biggest platform and message is the whole healing. This is just one avenue. Reiki is just one avenue. There's so many that build on top of each other and work with each other to create and help facilitate healing, change, empowerment, divine love, whatever it is that each individual needs. But you sitting in this jar, isolated jar and container, being like, but I don't have that, and I'm not going to get that. it's magnetism.
Yeah.
You will get what you put out. Words on repeat create. And so flip the script a bit, have a little faith, put out some intention, and just reach out to Z and Hitara. They offer payment plans if needed. They offer, or even just that discovery call. Are you still do a 15-minute discovery call?
Yeah.
Just to kind of see if that energy jives, because sometimes it doesn't. Maybe sometimes I would say rarely, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's that option of just reaching out. It never hurts to ask a question or to feel into it. Or if you're nervous or scared about anything, knowing that they're open to answer your questions and they're here for you in whatever capacity you show up to them.
Yeah. Neville Goddard, look him up, just Google him, because I don't have time to go in about, but he said something very important. He says, we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. So if you don't like where you are, you need to change something. And it's usually here to here.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Yeah. Mic drop. Okay. So this is going longer than we usually go, but that's okay. Because there's been a lot of good, because it's gone by like that. I looked up at the time and went, oh, okay. So now we're going to get into the part where we drum. Today's drum.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah,
You can cover me.
Yeah, no, I don't want to cover you.
Mine.
Yeah, today's drum is buffalo, which is when when we're talking about what we're talking about. Buffalo is about prosperity. So let this sink in to your soul and your spirit. And do you want to drum?
No, you're gonna do it. You're the master.
Yeah. So what I want you to do
Ready.
is I want you to sit back, relax, and if you have headphones, please put them on.
Where are you going?
Oh, I thought you wanted us to step out.
Oh, no.
Oh, we're gonna take this journey on the journey train.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
Okay.
So this will be about 10 minutes. And what you do is that you find your favorite place in nature that you're most comfortable with. It could be a place at the beach. It could be some place you grew up as a kid. Maybe that you took on a hike, wherever. I know sometimes I wind up at a dry well that was in the woods behind my house when I was 10 years old, and then when you get to that place and you'll hear the drum, then you're going to look for an opening. There's going to be either a door or a hole or a portal. It's going to be safe. All our guides are protecting everything. Take a step through and just see what you see. And then a little bit into it, we're going to change a drum beat, and I'm going to ask you to drop from your head to your heart. So sit back, relax, and listen to the drum. Feel the air, smell the trees or the water. Do you feel the sun or do you feel the humidity? Begin to look around. Look for the opening. Is it a door in a tree? Is it a log that's open-ended? Is it a waterfall you step through? Take the step. Immerse yourself. Release your duality and move into one cohesive unit. And now. Gratitude is the currency of the spirit world, just like money is the currency of this physical world. If you saw an animal and he spoke to you, or a guide and they spoke to you and passed on some information, be grateful and say thank you. And now it's time to start retracing your steps back to where your journey started. I need to say one more thing before I bring you back. If somebody was under a palm tree with a coconut in the desert and a pyramid in the background, contact us. Now, return to the spot where you were. And then in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There. Now, wriggle your toes and your fingers, and when you're ready, open your eyes. That was very clear that there's someone that there is Giza pyramid, palm tree, coconut, and they're standing underneath it. There's a couple of guides that want to talk to you. I'll tell you, the guides that came through that held the space was pretty powerful. I was surprised.
It was.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, comments, you can go to, I think, on the bottom down there, once it goes up, or else you can find us on Facebook at Eternity, which is capital E, capital T, capital H, ERNIT, capital Y. I always have to look at it. I should just put it up here and do that. Yeah, we want to thank Natasha Rose for being here.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
inviting me.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening and being present.
Yeah.
And thank you
It's
for,
an honor.
being here for yourselves too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep. So,
Thank
we love
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll talk to you soon. Namaste. That was good.